What's up, guys? It's me, LittleWicho, and I'm proud to announce the new thing I'm starting on the channel called Wicho's Weekday Too Late Show. Uh, so today's episode is being dropped at like 3, 2 in the morning, because like I said, it's the Too Late Show. I'm sorry this was supposed to come out last Sunday, but I forgot. Fucking, it's fine. But yeah, in today's episode, I have my good friend the Redfield on. We talk DBD. Hopefully y'all enjoy this. I'm really excited. It's something I've been wanting to do. So yeah. And then I do have a spring trap video coming out. You see right here. That probably should hopefully be coming out later this week. So yeah, thank you. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the first episode. I'm here with my good friend the Redfield. You might know him. He's super famous. I'm just gonna let him introduce himself. So, Mr. Redfield, welcome on. So, what's your favorite scary movie? I want to start off with that.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm the Redfield. Like he said, I'm pretty famous. I don't mean to brag or anything. My favorite scary movie. Ooh, that's a tough one. Ooh, uh, I like the one with the guy. He wears a mask and he uses a knife to kill people. That's a good one.
I have to agree with him. That is a good one. Well, now that the introductions are out of the way, on today's episode, we're gonna be talking DVD. We're gonna be talking DVD. I want to start off by asking you, Mr. Redfield, what made you start playing DVD? You know, what got you into the game?
Starting off strong. What got me on? Okay, a long time ago, I used to play on console, PlayStation, and there was like a thing on PlayStation. I forgot what it's called. There's like a monthly subscription, and they would have free games every once in a while. And one of those free games was Dead by Daylight. And I just got it, or actually, my cousin told me to get it. I was like, oh, okay. And this is back when DBD was scary. It was an actual horror game.
Yep.
And I just kind of fell in love with it. They had a lot of recognizable characters. They had Jigsaw. I'm a big fan of that. No, this what got me into it, and now I can't put it down. It's like it's just it's a curse, pretty much.
I get that reference. All right, what would you say your favorite chapter would be out of all of them? New included, especially with FNAF coming out. But like I said, you're a Jigsaw fan, so I'm assuming the Saw chapter has to be up there, right?
Yeah, it is. And in retrospect, I think it's very creative how they did the Jigsaw chapter, considering that, the big bad of Jigsaw is John Kramer, but he's an old man in a wheelchair. You're not gonna have him as a killer. So having his apprentice, Amanda Young, as the pig was a very, very unique, cool, and bold choice that they did. As well as the survivor, Detective Tap. And I think they took a lot from the actual Saw video game. There's a lot of similarities between the game and the chapter in DBD. And another cool thing is it's just all the little references too, and in the add-ons or the map. So that's why it is one of my favorite chapters. I want to say, I think my favorite of all time probably has to be either the Resident Evil or Castlevania one. Those are also really good ones.
Good choices. Yeah.
But I do think the Saw chapter is done pretty well. That's one of my favorite ones.
All right. If you could, go back.
Oh, what about you? What about you?
Me?
What's your favorite? What's
My
your favorite?
favorite. This is easy. It's FNAF. I'm a huge FNAF tard. No lie. I have a lot of merch and everything. I've loved FNAF ever since it came out. But before that, I'd have to say Stranger Things because I was a big Stranger Things fan.
Oh yeah.
I'm mad though they didn't add my favorite character Hopper to the game, not even as a legendary skin. We got
Well,
Jonathan
hey, they
Byers
could.
instead. Um, but no, I agree with the Saw chapter. They did it really well. But if you could change anything about it, if you could go back and you'd make it, would you change it or keep it as is? How would you do that?
Um, Not really much of a change, I guess, but I think probably now because they can do it. I think having Lawrence Gordon, who's the original protagonist in the first movie, as a survivor or legendary skin would be cool. You know, just to have a little bit more variety
Hmm.
because he does appear a lot in the movies, and it would be cool to see him again. I know he can find his dead body in the actual map. That's a really cool detail that they added. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's the chapter's done pretty well. I really wouldn't change much about it. Just give us more cosmetics.
Yeah. Yeah.
My money gone.
Actually. Now, since we're on the topic of chapters and everything, I'm sure you've heard about, recent rumors from a interview about bringing a certain Sith Lord into the game. What are your what's your take on that? What do you think?
If they add Darth Vader to the game, I think that's going to be my new main for a while.
Understandable.
There is, a lot of people are saying that, oh no, Darth Vader doesn't belong, but if you have ever watched the original Star Wars movies, Darth Vader is the original big bad. He
Yep.
has a on-screen presence like no other movie villain. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's other really great movie villains, but you just need to watch the movies, experience them for yourself, and once you do, you'll see that he's a perfect fit. Yeah, he's not. The Star Wars is not necessarily horror, but I think Darth Vader himself is. He's kind of the embodiment of tragedy and just darkness, and I think that fits very well in the narrative of Dead by Daylight.
Exactly. Yeah, I say the same thing. Darth Vader is one of the most iconic villains out there ever. He's so recognizable. Not only would this chapter bring in so much money for both behavior and Disney, it opens a door for a lot of other things. Like you said, Darth Vader, he is. Some people say he's not horror though, but he does bring horror. He has everything, like you said. I think he could make a great killer. You show
He has a
people
lot of
the
aura.
exactly. He's a huge aura farmer. Like you show people the clip from Rogue One in that dark hallway where you just hear his breathing and then the lightsaber just come out. That alone should be enough proof that he belongs in this game. I don't understand, people being like he doesn't belong, he doesn't. I think he does. You made really good points. A lot of people made really good points. But would you think we would only get Darth Vader, or who do you want to see as a survivor if he were to come with one?
So I think if they were to add a Star Wars Darth Vader chapter, I think it's gonna be very similar to the Five Nights at Freddy, where it's just going to be a killer. Maybe and just maybe I could possibly see somebody like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo as a survivor.
Good
But
choices.
I feel like if they were to do it, I think Darth Vader and possibly a map would be just enough. And you know, we do have the alien realm. I forget what it's called, but you
Yep.
know, that's a very sci-fi space map or realm. So they could kind of work that in with the Star Wars thing. A very I know it's never going to happen, but a very cool map would be a map inside the Death Star.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool, or
I
maybe a crashed Death Star like in the new movies. But yeah,
exactly.
there's a lot you can do with that.
Exactly. I was gonna say I would love an indoor map in the Death Star. The only thing I can see is the Death Star's very. It looks big, but it's a lot of narrow hallways in it. Not that much space. So, like you said, a crashed Death Star would be a really good map. Just like you have the crashed I forget the name of the ship.
Alien,
Yeah, the alien map where you
the
just have the
Xenomorph
crash.
captain.
Yeah, you just have the crash, you have a crashed Death Star. There you go. It'd be easy. It'd be easy. So, I think survivor wise, I think I would really like I wouldn't necessarily want a main character. I know you said Han Solo, Luke. I would more want maybe just a rebel trooper, just a regular rebel trooper. Because in a rebel's eyes, you see Darth Vader, you're scared, you know? Not the same fear you'd get if, Han Solo or Luke. But then you got to think about it. What survivor would make them the most money?
Yeah,
So, yeah. So I think you're right. I can see Han, especially since, spoilers. I don't know if it's been years, but, he dies.
yeah. I don't think anyone cares at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But my dream survivor would be Lando. Give me Lando. Give him
Oh,
voice lines. You
you know
got my
what?
money.
Yeah, Han Solo is the survivor and Lando legendary skin.
You'd get my money. The easy behavior. You make billions. I'm just saying.
And that also the same goes for Darth Vader. He would possibly have the most legendary skins out of all the characters. You know, you have of course you have Darth Vader, then you could have a Darth Maul skin.
Mm.
You could have a Count Dooku skin,
Kylo Ren.
and you could a Kylo Ren skin, and you could even have a Anakin skin before he's Darth Vader
Yep,
from the third movie,
A Clone Wars type skin right before he or not necessarily Clone Wars, but
the Revenge of Sith.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you give each of those skins because they're obviously different people that use its force differently, different Moris. Which brings me to my next topic. What do you think his Mori would be? I think it would just be the old fashioned force choke. But I like to hear what you think it might, or maybe you have a better idea. I don't know.
In a perfect world, or at least in my perfect world, I think a really brutal and fast one would be he just sticks the lightsaber in your mouth and then turns it on, and you just see it just pierce through your skull. But that's a little too quick and easy. I don't think it screams Star Wars that much. It is pretty brutal though.
A
Um, a good there's technical limitations on this, but I think slicing off the survivor's hand would be
I get
the
that
go-to.
reference. I get that reference.
But you know, you're talking about there's a lot of technical limitations with that,
Yeah.
with all the survivor models and stuff.
Uh,
I mean, maybe, but so at least have the hand cutting somewhere. I think that's
yeah,
really iconic.
extremely. Another one, for me, a second one I thought of. This is more of I don't know if you've played The Force Unleashed, but in that game, Star Killer he kills uh Han Solo by force grabbing him and then putting him to his lightsaber and turning it on and just doing that. I think that would also be a good Mori because it also shows the force and all that. But you know, eh,
Yeah, he's got a lot of wiggle room for his Mori.
there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. There's a lot you can get real creative with how he can use the force. I do I do agree with you though. I do think the hand cutting off is very iconic and needs to somewhat be represented
And you know
somehow.
what? I think, you know, I said technical limitations. We have the clown. He cuts off a
He
finger.
does. He cuts off his fingers. Yeah, or their
You know,
finger.
I couldn't imagine it would be that difficult to implement. You know, cutting off of a hand.
No, I don't think. But we know DVD, labor of love. So,
Actually,
I also want to talk about his. What do you think his power could be? I can't think of a good power. All I can think about
there's
is something with the force.
there's a lot you can do with Vader. For starters, um, he could be have multiple kits, kind of. One of his kits he could have is stealth.
Mm.
If you've ever seen the original movies, whenever he's fighting Luke, a lot of the times he actually turns off his lightsaber and you only hear his breathing,
That
or
was
his
actually
breathing's
something I
very
was thinking
slowly,
about. You're able to turn off the lightsaber, and you
and you
kind
have
of,
no terror
yep,
radius, and you
yep.
can kind of ambush the survivor.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking you turn off your lightsaber and map wide. I think you could something around along the lines of like how Chucky works, where you see his feet, his pitter patters everywhere. You hear his breathing, and he just slowly walks. I, probably somewhat slow, not that slow, but maybe slow enough to where it's not broken, but it's not overly powerful for a stealth killer. Um, but yeah, that I've thought about that. That does seem like a cool idea.
Another thing he could do is he could also be projectile. And there's multiple things you can do with that. He could either, throw his lightsaber. It's a little bland. We already have a lot of projectile
Yeah, a lot
killers
of
that just.
projectile.
Another thing he can do is he goes into force mode where he can basically like he spawns in like a huge rock or something, and he's able to, or scrap metal or whatever you want, and he throws it and it can hit the survivor. Something kind of like that.
What I was thinking, this might be too much for DVD, if I'm gonna be honest. Ooh, excuse me. He's able to pick up dropped pallets and throw them, or like push them to cause damage. I think that would be a cool little thing. He's go against pallets, counter to pallets. It might seem a bit overpowered, but I feel like they could maybe adjust it a bit to make it to where it's not too overpowered.
Or he could, use the force to lift up pallets, much like Vecna can with his spell.
Or that, yeah, yeah, exactly, something along the line. Because you don't want to have Darth Vader and then not show off the Force, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot they could do. Like you said, they can get real creative. Um, I would like that. I cannot see this happening though. I would love it if he had stormtroopers on the map, but that cannot work because you're gonna have stormtroopers shooting at you. But the thing is,
Yeah.
we all know stormtroopers have terrible aim. So I think best they could do is like what zombies do for Nemesis. They're more of a tool, like a what do you call it?
Like an information
Information,
tool.
exactly. You'll hear the blasters go off, but since your stormtrooper isn't hitting anything, you just know where the general area. I think that'd be cool, but I also don't see them doing something like that because I don't think they'd want him necessarily to be too similar to Nemesis.
They could also add droids. Droids are a big part of Star Wars.
That's true. Yeah. How do you think counterplay would play with him? Do you think they'd probably, bring in a new item like they did with Nemesis and Wesker? Like, something along the lines of something like that? That counterplay?
On the map, you can drink blue milk and it gives you haste or something.
There you go. There you
I
go.
don't know.
Behavior, we gave it to you. We gave it to you.
I feel like there really isn't anything. I don't think he's one of those killers that needs counterplay, kind of like that, like with the vaccines and stuff. I don't think
Yeah.
there would be anything to implement.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Just thought maybe you might. Uh but now that we're talking about Vader and people who we don't necessarily think fit the bill but could get in, what's a dream character you have, no matter if it's horror, not horror? Who do you want in DBD? If you could add anyone, no matter who it is, who would it be? What's your dream character, your dream chapter?
There's a lot of characters that I want, but I think something that is long overdue to be have a collab in DBD would be fighting games,
Mm.
and I think a perfect fit would be Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Who?
think there's so many characters you can choose from Mortal Kombat. Even even if the killer was just Scorpion, I would be happy. But I feel like there's two killers that come to mind. The first one is Shao Kahn, and the
Good one.
second one is Shang Tsung. And I think Shang Tsung works better because if they were to add Shang Tsung, I think he should have a power much similar to Dracula, where he can transform into all the ninjas from Mortal Kombat. Like he can transform into Scorpion, he gets the spear or the teleport. He can
Hmm.
transform to Sub Zero, and he gets ice powers. Reptile, he becomes invisible.
Yep.
All those, and then in his base Shang Tsung form, he could have the fireballs. Just give him Dracula's
Giant
fireballs.
pillar. Yeah, the pillars. You know, that actually does sound really cool. Being able to like
And
yeah,
on top of that, you could add Quan Chi as a legendary skin, and it would fit
that
pretty
would.
much the
Yep.
same. They're both shapeshifters, and they're both sorcerers. You can call him the sorcerer.
The
You
sorcerer.
know,
Yeah. There you go. Like you said, yeah. If they did add him, I think it would be cool being able to switch to someone like Sub Zero, being able to shoot uh an ice ball and slowing down survivors.
gives them
Scorpion
hindered. Yeah,
hindered, yeah, and being able to be Scorpion and basically getting like
you get Deathslinger's
yeah,
power.
Deathslinger's power, and Reptile going invisible is also a really cool one. But I would also like if you're Reptile, you'd be able to shoot acid onto pallets and windows like the plague.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then, like you said, fireballs for his basic without transforming or anything like that. That would be cool. And then Scorpion, if you do give him a secondary teleportation, he can work like how Dracula's bat does. He can teleport to windows. I don't know necessarily about
Cybot could
our noob.
have teleportation too.
Yeah, noob. Who else? Ermac. I don't know what you do for Ermac, but they could probably figure something out.
But if not Shang Tsung, then definitely Shao Kahn. You could call him the combatant. Instead of a C, it's gonna have a K. I
I
think that would be so
I like
funny.
that name, but I was thinking more of the Outworlder. Sounds cooler.
Or maybe the Conqueror.
The Conqueror
I
with the
think
K.
if you
Yeah.
have something with the word K in it for
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
but with Shao Kahn, you'd have to be a little more creative. I think he could have like his weapon, the hammer, could be a kind of like a one shot kill, like kind of like Oni. It'd be really difficult to use, but it could one shot. And maybe you can give him his spear as a projectile. But I think as cool as he is, I don't think there's as much to work with him.
Mhm.
That's why I would probably prefer Shang Tsung. Just because he's so creative, you can
Yeah.
do so much with him, and he could shapeshift. He's a sorcerer. He's known to copy his opponents, and his Mori could just. You have so many options for the Mori.
When thinking about the Mori, I think it'd be cool. I think it would be cool if you moried someone, you turned into a different killer, probably an original killer. I doubt they'd be able to do licensed ones. And you do their mori, and then sometimes you have one for him, his own original one, where he probably just shapeshifts into the survivor and then just kills them. And I think it'd be
I
really
think
cool if
they
after.
they
Yep.
I think his Mori. I think it's going to be the classic. It's his I think original fatality where he just steals your soul, and
Mm.
you just become like this husk, and he just takes your soul. I
Your
think that
soul is
would
mine.
fit him perfectly. Yeah, yeah,
And he
your
said,
soul.
"Yep,
I think that should be it.
that that actually sounds better than what I was saying." And I think after it, it should say fatality. It has to say fatality afterwards.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I think this is just me. I would love it if instead of a Mori, you could do a friendship. So imagine, instead of wanting to kill someone, right? You just do a friendship. Like let's say, it's Last Survivor, you want to give him Hatch. You do a friendship, and then they get Hatch afterwards. Something like that. I doubt it because that's probably a lot of stuff they'd have to add and everything. But that's just me. I think I would really love to see like something like that.
And animality. That would be cool
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, you're saying you mentioned earlier shape shifting into a different killer. Um, there was this concept for a Pennywise killer from It,
Hmm.
and the this is a video that kind of
Oh,
showed like
yep.
what he would be like and stuff.
The
What's
add-ons
interesting, what you said,
where yeah,
yes,
the
they
add-ons.
they had
Yes.
add-ons where he starts off as a different killer, and then once you hit someone, he turns to Pennywise.
Hmm.
I think they should add, if they ever add Pennywise, I think that should be an
That
add-on.
should definitely that would be super cool because it's a lot of the confusion. And I think what it would be cooler is if when you're loading into a game, especially if you're a newer player, it says, "Oh, when facing you know, the clown or whatever."
Yeah,
The add-on changes it, so it doesn't tell them that it's Pennywise. It
yeah. Instead of
shows
like
like the Legion.
facing the,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
What do you think they'd call Pennywise? I was thinking the Nightmare, but I just realized that that's exactly what Freddy
Freddy
already is.
Krueger.
Yep. I can't really think of one. You can't call him the clown either.
Um, well, usually what they do with some of the killers, sometimes they have like other names, like actual names, like Chucky, they call him the good guy because he's the good guy doll. Or
Mm-hmm.
Dracula, they call him the Dark Lord. That's what, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they called him in the old game manuals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, or Michael Myers, they call him the Shape. That's also what I believe he was called in the credits, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't know if Pennywise had a any different name or something like that.
Uh,
Maybe I don't think they'll call him the It, but
yeah. I can't really think of one on the top of my head for him. Which is really hard to think of. I doubt that's something they look into when they're deciding characters. Um, I don't know. I thought of the Nightmare because his whole thing
yeah,
are the Fear Eater. There you go. He feeds off of fear. So there you go. The Fear Eater. That's a
your
good one.
behavior hire this guy.
Yeah, the Fear Eater. Um, one of my one of the chapters I want is I want Homelander or Omni Man to come in
Yes, yes,
because I think
yes,
having a Superman type character like that is terrifying. It's terrifying. You got to remember these people are considered gods amongst normal people in their respective universes and everything. And then you get scenes from the boys, especially the one on the plane where he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. He's the Homelander or Omni Man being able to just ram through a train, killing a lot anyone. They don't care for human life. I think adding someone like that would be super cool. Hell, you could probably even just add Superman from like the Injustice universe or Zack Snyder's Superman, right? Because they're essentially all the same. I think it would be super cool to add a Superman like character, even if it's an original type. If they can't get the licensing for those, I think they should at least try and add something along the lines for that because that is super cool. But then you also get back to the whole, oh, but they're not really horror. They're not horror. Wah, wah, wah. Like I don't care. I think they're
actually,
terrifying in their own way to justify a spot.
we've already got pretty much all the major horror licenses aside from Jason, Friday the 13th. We pretty much got them all, I think.
Happy Friday the 13th, by the way. This video was recorded on Friday the 13th. Just want to put that out there.
Oh,
Happy
hell yeah.
birthday, Jason. Anyway, back to the
Yeah,
conversation.
we'll get him someday. We'll get him
We'll get him
someday.
someday. We'll get him someday. Anyway, as you were saying.
But you also mentioned superhero. I actually he's not my first pick, but Homelander would be. I would love to have Homelander, and I've thought of a very great survivor and killer mechanic that they can do, much
Okay.
similar to Nemesis, how he has the vaccines.
Hmm.
With Homelander, I think Homelander would be. They haven't done this in a while. I think he should be a slower killer, kind of like Nurse, or maybe he can
Okay.
switch to slow form. Homelander, he levitates.
Yeah. He
He's
loves to
too good
fly.
for walking.
Exactly.
He's too good for walking. He
The only
levitates,
man in this. The only man in the sky.
and he's very nonchalant. In his head, he knows, yeah, I could do whatever I want. I
Yep.
don't need a
Yep.
hurry. I don't need a rush. So I think he could have this form where he levitates, and he moves maybe not nurse speed maybe, but slow. And while he's levitating, he gets power or access to his power, the laser eyes, which would be a kind of like a projectile, kind of like you look where you want to aim, and he shoots the lasers. And I think it's a very powerful item, right? Like,
Hmm.
what is the survivor doing against that, right? So to balance it out, around the trial, there are going to be supply cases with compound V or temporary V, whatever it was called. And the, when a survivor takes it, they pretty much get a new health state.
Mm. Okay.
And in that new health state, if Homelander hits them with the laser, they lose that health state, but they keep their normal health state. Like, the 1-2 hits. Pretty much is like a shield, pretty much.
I like
They
to.
take the compound V, and they get a bonus too. Maybe
Exact.
they get like haste or something, or aura beating.
I was gonna say to piggyback off of that. I think it would be cool if they got translucent, A train, you know, stuff like that. Obviously, they'd be balanced to where you're not actually as
Kind of
fast.
like the Vecna chests, how you
Exactly.
gain certain
How you could
buffs.
get was the Eye of Vecna where you become invisible to them. That's how it works, right? I have not played
Yeah,
Vecna. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, something like that. I think that'd be super cool because you're showing your appreciation and for the whole franchise by doing that. And I do like the idea of it basically being an extra health state. I think you could use it as like an extra health state, but if you don't get hit within a certain time, maybe it goes away. So you have a certain time limit on it. Um, but that would definitely that was one of the things I was gonna say too. Is if you got a different temporary superpower when you took it, and you'd also get that extra hit.
yeah. And because if you get hit with the laser without it, I don't think it should be insta down. I think
Hmm.
that's too much. But I think you should probably like it'd be very
I think it should
like
definitely.
punishing if you get
Yeah,
hit by it.
I would. I this is just me, but I think it should give you was it deep wound? I feel like
Yes.
something like a laser going straight through you should give you deep wound. And speaking of that, lasers going through, I think you should be able to hit multiple survivors with one laser. That's just me though.
That'd be amazing.
I think it'd be so cool.
And another thing to add to Homelander is I'm not sure how they would implement it, but also give him map traversal. He loves to do the fly thing where he puts his hands up in the air, and
Hmm.
then he quickly jumps up and he flies. Have a mechanic to where he can. That's his teleport. Like he'll fly up into the air and then land down at a certain location, and if
I
he
think
lands on a survivor, it hits them.
literally crushing them, Goomba stomping them should insta down. That's just me.
Yes,
And if you're within a certain radius, you get damaged by it. Um, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think his power, he should be able. I don't know if maybe he gets to fly, like something like Freddy, where you can fly to a generator, or
yeah.
maybe
Or maybe this is the supply cases. Maybe
exactly, or you just go into the air and you can just choose where you want to go, essentially.
maybe you mark it somewhere,
Exactly,
and
yeah, you
that's
can
your
mark it.
spot, and you can go there anytime you want, and it gets put on a cooldown.
Exactly, exactly. And I think for his Mori, this is just me. I think the best Mori you could do for him is. Ooh, my phone just went off. the where how he kills blind. What's his name? Blindside, I think, or something. You know his whole. What if
Yeah,
I
what he
just clap their
yeah,
ears? Exactly. I think that would be the perfect Mori. You have them like on the ground bleeding from their ears. He rolls his eyes, and then I think this is just me being a Nemesis fan and loving the idea of just crushing people's head and
his
just
head.
stomping on the head while they're doing that. Obviously, some people probably want him to use his lasers. I think I that's my favorite kill in the entire show was that one kill. So I think I would really prefer if they somehow did that, or maybe rather than crushing their head, he lasers their head off. He makes them blow up. So there's a
Yeah,
lot they could do.
I actually like that. And I'm gonna take another. I'm gonna steal this from Dracula again. At the end of the Mori, he should pull out and take a huge swig of some milk.
You know what? You know what? Behavior. We gave you another $1 billion idea.
Virus, man.
actually, I think I just think he'd be a really good addition. Now, I also mentioned Omni Man. How do you think? Do you think Omni Man? I feel like Omni Man would differ because Omni Man doesn't necessarily have the laser vision. He doesn't have laser vision. He's just strong.
I I'm not too hype with Omni Man in DBD. I can see why people would want him, but I think it's because power wise he wouldn't be as unique.
Mm.
Yeah, he can fly. I guess maybe you could have do something with the I don't know, he can clap and it creates like a shockwave or
Mm-hmm.
a sound wave. You can maybe do something with that. But I will say if they ever do add Omni Man, you gotta make a legendary skin with Conquest. You just gotta.
Definitely. I was gonna say what they could probably do for Omni Man is you have Homelander, but you get rid of the whole laser stuff, and his only power is being able to fly up and down. And then maybe uh, as a secondary one, you can do your clap. You know,
Yeah.
that's just me. I feel like they probably could figure something out for him. Like you said, it's like a very limited thing because he doesn't really do much because he just punches. He's just a
Yeah,
big
because
puncher,
he Omni Manchist will grab your face and crush it, and he's done.
which I think should
Homelander
be the
likes
Mori,
to
by the way.
torture. Homelander likes to torture. He likes to
Exactly.
play with his food.
That's a
He's gonna
reference.
he's gonna pro, he's gonna pro, shut the yeah, I hate you. He's gonna prolong it. That's why I think he would remain like in a trial, like when he gets taken by the entity in the fog. He's gonna be like, yeah, okay,
There's
I
no
get you.
fighting. Yeah, there's no fighting.
Yeah, he's gonna want to. He's gonna
He's gonna
enjoy it.
want to exactly. Uh, yeah. I mean, I think it honestly would be the greatest chapter ever. Um, and I think you couldn't really give Homelander any legendary skins, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Because no other, unless you really want to stretch thin and give Butcher one, because for like a
I
little bit
think
in the show, he does get the
I
laser
think
vision.
Butcher should be the survivor.
I actually have to disagree with you on that.
Oh,
I would actually prefer Huey. I would prefer Huey to be
what
the
about
survivor.
both Huey and
Butcher. You're right.
Butcher?
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right, King. I also
Yeah,
think. What do you think? We didn't really talk about this with Darth Vader. I forgot to bring it up. But I guess we can circle back to that later, maybe, or maybe talk about it after this. But what do you think Homelander's perks could be? Do you think he'd have, like, what kind of perks do you think he'd bring to the game? Slow down, chase.
I'm thinking maybe Chase or Aura.
He does
I
have
think
really
those
good vision. Yep.
I think those fit well with him. Maybe not sure about specific perks, maybe a perk that's kind of balanced landing, but for killers.
Mm.
That would be like if you fall from a great height, you get haste for a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think they've done a perk like that.
I don't think
I
they
know they
have.
have the Houndmaster perk, but you just get increased lunge. It's not increased speed,
Mm.
but be pretty much balanced landing, but for killer.
Okay.
I think that would fit for him because it kind of works how he likes to do those trademark superhero landings.
Okay.
That's where I'm
Yeah.
kind of getting the inspiration from.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that fits. That fits. I was thinking a perk along the lines of he can read auras. So I was thinking, maybe have an aura reading perk, but I can't really think of like a good one. Because I was gonna say, oh, maybe he can see everyone's aura when the exit gates are open, but then that's
The
already
bitter,
Bitter
bitter
Murmur.
murmur.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this is
Bitter
bitter
Murmur,
murmur.
and then you have Lethal Pursuer already with Nemesis. So there's not much you can do with aura reading already, because you know, pretty much all of it's already been done. Because I feel like because I want him to have a perk to have to do with that, but I also see why they probably wouldn't either. Because you don't want too many aura reading perks already, because you'd just be able to see everyone all the time. I also want a perk to play off of his whole he's better than everyone else. I would love to have a perk called I'm better or something like that whole speech referencing that whole speech. I think I can't really think of one to like come off of my head, you know, but definitely something like to show that he knows he's better than everyone else. You know? Something. I can't really think of something.
Yeah, superior anatomy from Wesker.
Exactly. Exactly.
Give him that perk again, just re-release it.
Yeah. Like I don't I'm trying to think of one on the spot.
Ooh,
Uh
you know what? Maybe maybe a perk that gives him kind of like Lightborn. Because Lightborn
mm,
blocks flashlights and
yeah.
at the same time it gives you aura reading. Maybe his could be you get Lightborn, but instead of the aura reading, they become hindered or something.
Mm. I was going to say one. I would have loved to call it I'm stronger, I'm better, where you get tokens for doing certain actions. Not sure yet, but you when you get stunned by a pallet, you don't become stunned. The pallet just breaks on you. You lose no movement speed, no nothing. It just breaks on you. Like you're just able to go through it, if that makes
So
sense.
kind of like Singularity when he's in overclock mode.
Exactly.
I don't know if
Exact.
you've seen it where if you drop a pellet on him, he can still move, he can still attack, he's just hindered.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That would
Okay.
that actually work. I think
Basically something
I
like
think that
that.
would work. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be cool because you also don't want to let it just always happen. That's what I'm saying. You need stacks for it. Like you get, you know, stacks maybe from each survivor you hook. That way it's not too overpowered either. So you're only
Maybe kind of like
limited.
Spirit Fury, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And then I'd also want him to have an obsession perk of some kind because he's part of his whole thing is like he doesn't want to outright kill the boys because he finally has a nemesis. Like he finally has
That's
people.
a reference. That's a
Wait,
reference.
wait, guys, that's a reference. And like, you know what I
Oh.
mean? Like he has that
Yeah.
whole mentality of finally there's someone who can actually do something to me. Like he's not scared, but he knows they'll fight back. It plays into that whole oh, everyone listens to me because they're scared, but these people aren't. They're not scared of me. So that's why I would love to have an obsession thing, with you get obsessed with like your nemesis or whatever. And maybe you get the nemesis. I think this is already actually a perk where they get buffs because you have the perk. Uh
Yes, I
it,
believe it's Michael Myers
yeah,
perk.
dying light is it? I
Yeah,
think, right? Or
I
no?
I believe it is.
Yeah, something maybe along that lines, but I don't know. I'm not I can't really think about that stuff. I'm not that I'm not that creative when it comes to having to make perks up or anything. But I would love to have like I would love for him to somewhat have in oh excuse me an aura reading obsession and then a chase perk, preferably. But I'm sure behavior could figure out amazing perks for him. And
Yeah, we're kind of running out of perks here.
yeah,
There's already a lot in the game.
there is already a lot, and I feel some of them just do the same thing. You got the FNAF one that's just the Nick Cage perk for for killers. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, you know, it's just the same thing.
I actually couldn't tell you what his other perks were. I'm trying to think. I don't. That's the only one I remember.
For Springtrap,
Yeah.
the one where you can now regress exit gates and then
Oh yes.
help wanted, where you get your lunge is faster.
Oh no!
No,
Oh
no,
no!
no.
I know it. No, that's it's saved the best for last. But on
Yeah.
Gen, that one sucks. They need to stop making perks like that. That activate when you get a gen when they complete a gen. I
Exactly.
think there's like only one other perk that does that.
It's a singularity perk, no? Right.
Yes, gives you undetectable.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would love Homelander. Do you have anyone else maybe you'd like? Any sleeper picks?
Um, Chainsaw Man would be cool,
Chainsaw Man. Yep, yep, yep.
but we already have a lot of chainsaw killers, and it seems like
All right, let me
the
stop you there.
chainsaw killers.
Sorry, I have to go pee really bad. I'm gonna have to edit this out.
Okay,
But remember where you were? I'll probably like try and
okay,
stitch it up best I could.
okay, yeah.
While we're on the topic, uh, what else? Like, who else would you like to see, in DBD?
Well, aside from Mortal Kombat and Homelander, I think also a really good pick would be more anime. I
Hmm.
think Chainsaw Man would work perfectly, but the only thing I can see about that, obviously they would have to add, Chainsaw Man himself as the killer, but we already have two chainsaw killers, Leatherface and Hillbilly,
Yeah,
and their whole power is that they have insta down. So I think it would be a little difficult to work his power because he uses chainsaws. He's got three chainsaws.
yeah,
And that's why I think if they were to add him, I don't think he would be an insta down killer. But I couldn't tell you.
yeah.
But I think I'm going to be honest. I think they already are working on it, and I say that because they got Tokyo Ghoul and Junji Ito. Those are some of the biggest. I think those are the biggest horror anime manga
Yeah.
licenses they could get. That's why I believe they already have Chainsaw Man and they're working on it. But at the same time, it could very much just be cosmetics. Um, I'm not sure about a full-on chapter, but I think for sure they have it.
Yeah, they're definitely already working on Chainsaw Man. 100%. Gotta be. Like, the money's
You
there
know, we
for
have
it.
we have Kaneki.
Yeah,
They have a very loyal fan base in Japan. They love the game,
yeah.
and behavior is leaning more into like they always like to have the Japanese killers or the anime killers. They're doing a lot more of that as a thank you to their Japanese community. So that's
Yep.
why I do kind of think I think they're gonna add Chainsaw Man. I think
There's
that's one that's kind of
definitely there's definitely money in it for them as well with that.
maybe another anime they could add. I'm not too familiar with it. And forgive me if I say it wrong. Danganronpa.
Ah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think,
I can't even pronounce it.
yeah. I personally have never seen it, or I know they have games of it,
Yeah,
but I do know it is horror thing. It's kind of like Jigsaw, from what I understand.
essentially. Yeah, essentially it
Yeah.
is.
So that's why I think that that is also a possibility.
Hmm.
I think I think for sure they'll probably do something with it.
Definitely. It is really popular out there, so you know they
I
definitely could.
think that's those are some like the big horror for anime. I mean, they want to do more anime. I don't think they're gonna add, oh, here's the Dragon Ball Z chapter. New killer is Frieza, or
They
Goku,
definitely are. They definitely are adding
Goku Black.
Frieza. I
But
can confirm myself that they are adding Frieza to Dead by Daylight.
oh hell yeah,
That is you heard it here, folks. First in the world ever, they are adding Frieza to DVD.
but yeah, they still have a lot they can work with.
Yeah, there's still definitely a lot of licenses out there that can work.
That's crazy to think about too. This is what 40 killers now
Yep.
we have, and what for this what new roadmap? Year 10. What is this? We're
You're,
getting I think two more after Springtrap.
yep.
So in all this year, that's three killers. So that's what 42 killers we're gonna get now.
Yeah. It's already been
That's
10 years of
crazy.
DBD.
It's crazy to think about.
Yep. And one last killer I'd like to propose. This is more of a joke. Miku. I want Hatsune Miku added as a killer.
You know
Um,
what? You said joke.
yeah, a joke
I'm
character.
surprised they haven't. Yes, the Joker. I'm surprised they haven't added him
Oh,
yet.
the Joker. Yeah, that's a good one actually. While we're on the topic of superheroes, I would like to have a character from the Watchmen. Actually, probably. I forgot his name. It's Doctor Manhattan, right? I think it's Doctor Manhattan.
I wouldn't know that much.
Because I don't think it's Mister Manhattan, because that sounds stupid. Yeah, it's Doctor Manhattan. I think Doctor Manhattan would be a cool killer to also have. Um, he just, I just like the Watchmen. That's it. Behavior can do the rest. I like the Watchmen. Add him. Uh, and I think, you know, just some goofy survivors they could add. I mean, give me something goofy. Like more goofy. Like what's the movie? What? God damn it. Tucker and Dell versus Evil. Give me
Oh
Tucker
hell
and
yeah!
Dell as survivors. You'd get my money. Like, we need to. I feel they need to do more comedy horror, like they did with Ash, Evil Dead.
Yeah,
A lot more,
and Nicolas
and
Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah, maybe give me one of the what are their names? The twin brothers that made the Scary movies. Give me a character from Scary Movie. We have the Was Up mask in game.
Oh hell yeah!
We
You
could
get
easily
Sydney,
get,
or
yeah,
whatever her name
yeah,
is.
whatever the
Those
parody
these
name
two
is.
chicks. Yeah, they would be
Exactly.
They would be amazing as survivors.
They would like give me more.
I kind of want them now. Actually,
Yeah, give me. That's always something I've wanted is more goofy characters, like stuff like that. I think that would be cool. Hell, you could probably even make them legendary skins for some other original survivors if you wanted to. I don't know. Uh, I think having one of the brothers from the Scary Movie one, especially the one I want, I think is from Scary Movie 3, the one who gets smoked as a joint by the giant weed plant.
oh,
I want,
Shorty,
yeah, I want him as a survivor. Give me him as a
Shorty would be
survivor.
amazing.
And I would love more goofy comedy horror in the game. Uh like definitely. Just
They
definitely.
are kind of doing that. They're kind of straying less from the serious stuff.
Mhm.
I know they said they're doing a cosmetic
Nya
collab with that
Nya
manga.
yeah, Night of the Living Cat.
Yeah, so I think that's fucking stupid. They're definitely leaning more towards the less serious stuff. You look
Yeah.
at the old DLC. it's a little more grittier. Myers,
Fucking with the heat.
Leatherface, Jigsaw. Those are a little more um kind of dark.
Yeah,
Uh, now now they're lighting up a bit. I mean, we've got Nicolas Cage and Chucky.
yeah,
Not
definitely.
they're not really like
They're
that
not taking
serious.
themselves too seriously anymore,
Yeah.
which I really like. But yeah, give me just more goofiness. I love the goofy stuff in games. I've always loved goofy stuff in games, so I definitely want more goofballs. Add fucking Cheech and Chong for all I care as survivors.
They're gonna fucking add Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons.
Exactly. So there you
Can we
go. Legendary
can we get
skin.
a legendary skin for Hellmaster for Family Guy?
Exactly. Oh my god. Hey, when are we getting Scooby Doo, bruh? When are we getting Scooby Doo?
Hey, we got Matthew Lillard.
Exactly. Exactly. There you go, Shaggy. You already have him.
You know
You already
you know
have him.
what's a funny thought?
Hmm.
Springtrap's power has like a lot of jump scares.
Hmm.
What
I
is
don't
it
know
when you
how.
play as
I don't know
Matthew
how it's
Lillard?
gonna work with Matthew
Is it
Lillard.
just gonna
Yeah.
be like? I mean, is he gonna have the mask on when he's in game in a match,
I
or like,
I hope.
is it just gonna be Matthew Lillard jump scare?
Yeah. Is he just gonna scream at you? I don't know. I can't wait. Speaking of that, the chapter comes out in 3 days. Yippee!
Oh hell yeah!
um, definitely that. I hope. I hope he has a mask on because I think it'd look a bit goofy if he didn't. um, but yeah, you were on the topic of the roadmap earlier. I want to go back to that. We know for July who the two survive. Well, we know what the license is. It's obviously The Walking Dead. It is obviously The Walking Dead.
100% Walking Dead.
100% Walking Dead. And who else than Rick Grimes and I forgot her name. I'm so sorry.
Bro is not a Walking Dead fan.
I'm not.
Neither am
I
I. Neither
stopped
am I.
watching after season 2, bro. I stopped. uh, not Rochelle. I'm thinking of fucking Left 4 Dead.
Oh my
I'm
god.
thinking of Left 4 Dead. Oh my god, Michonne, right? It's Michonne. Michonne, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mich-
Rick Grimes and Michelle.
Rick
This
Grimes and
motherfucker
Rochelle,
said
bro.
Rochelle
Rick
from
Grimes
Left
and
4 Dead.
Rochelle. Yeah. There. I mean, come on. What other two survivors would come to this game? Let's be for real. Like, come on. I would love if Mr. Where's Rick? Don't care. Mr. Negan would come in as a killer, but unfortunately we can't do that. Maybe Trickster, legendary skin? Maybe.
Seen The Walking Dead, but I know of Negan's reputation as a character. He's in Tekken. So
Yeah.
that already tells me a lot. Um, could it ever work as Negan being a survivor,
No, I'd
like a
want him as a
legendary
killer.
skin?
I'd want him as a killer.
So he's definitely more like he's not a survivor type.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a killer
So I
type.
know a lot. We have Resident Evil. We have Witcher. While those characters, they're not exactly pushovers. They're still kind of in the realm of take away all their weapons and they're pretty much useless.
Yeah.
You don't get that from Negan. You think he's like,
No, I
oh,
don't.
I'm gonna make the most of it,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yep. I feel like he would. I don't know if he'd work on Trickster, because Trickster has the whole throwing knife thing, which, from my knowledge, Negan doesn't really do that. Um, I would love
I'd
for
say
him to be
maybe a legendary for Trapper,
maybe. He
just
doesn't
because it's
really
the
use
most like,
traps though, but it's most
yeah,
basic. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I would love to see him as a killer. Um, but Walking
Or
Dead.
maybe hear me out. They'll add his bat as a weapon, just his bat, Lucille,
They
for
might.
Trickster.
They might. That would actually
I
be kind
could
of
see them
fire.
just having like a weapons collection for
I
like because I know Walking.
You can
Does
make
Walking Dead have a lot of iconic weapons? I
yeah,
assume.
like
I know there's like the katanas and the
yeah,
bats and
her
stuff.
katana, Lucille, and then there's others like the crossbow and all that, but they're obviously not adding guns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lucille
definitely.
would be cool to see. I know all about Lucille.
Yeah, everyone knows about Lucille. uh, you know, on the topic of the roadmap and the year 10 stuff and all the hints they left, uh, what are your thoughts on the people saying Yakuza is coming to DVD? I think it would be the peakest collab ever. If
I 100% think there is a collab, and I think they're going to give a legendary skin to Trickster.
yeah, because I forget his name. He wears the eye patch, but he does have a bat, and
Yeah, he's
they
wearing that nice gold suit.
yep.
That's
And I think he
like I said, I don't
does,
play Yakuza, but I do know of that character specifically,
and I
and I'm
can see
sure
him
they're going
throwing
to
off
add
solo.
much like The Witcher, they're going to add legendary skins for already
I
existing
don't
survivors.
know. I don't know if he'd necessarily be a killer though, but it would be cool to have him as a killer because I don't really think of him as a killer. But I'm sure they could. I mean, like you said, it's not really. It's not necessary. You know, like how do I say this? It doesn't matter. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's Yakuza. They do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
So if he really wants to just kill people, he probably would. I haven't played. I've only played one Yakuza game. That's it. So I wouldn't know. Uh, but yeah. There's more hints that they said people haven't found or gotten yet. Like the pocket watch. That's apparently a hint to something. Do you think you have an idea for what the pocket watch might be hinting at?
I was assuming it was probably something from Yakuza because I know the coat and the eye patch for Yakuza. I'm not sure if there's like a is it a pocket watch involved with that character or Yakuza.
Uh Not sure. I couldn't tell you. I also heard people say that the watch is from The Walking Dead. It looks like the watch that someone gives to Glenn in one of the later seasons, which is possible as well.
Ah, that probably is what it is then.
Yeah, because
That's probably yeah.
why would you pull out a watch, a pocket watch, to figure out the time? It's like definitely, you know,
Yeah.
definitely a hint. Uh, and while we're on the topic of hints and stuff, let's just talk leaks, man. We got leaks coming out for the November chapter, uh, which is supposedly supposed to be based out of South Asian folklore, and it's supposed to be gory. There were the leaks saying that it was going to be the. I'm not even going to try and say the name of the damn thing. The Spider Woman killer, which DBD debunked. Um,
Yes.
so can you think of any South Asian folklore monster that you think would fit the bill as gory? I think.
Fuck, no, I don't have any idea of any folklore type. You're asking the wrong guy. I don't. I don't even
uh,
know Japanese folklore. I don't even know what the fucking oni is.
I
Yeah,
think
I wouldn't have any idea.
what I think is the Yeti. The Yeti is based in it's Nepal, I think. It's a
The
Nepal.
Yeti, like a snow Yeti.
Yeah. The snow Yeti is from Nepal, I believe. Like
There's
the
a South Asian folklore.
yep, cuz it's from I think it's from Nepal. I could be wrong. Uh yeah. The Yeti, also known as the abominable snowman, is a legendary ape-like creature believed to inhabit the Himalayan mountains, particularly in Nepal and Tibet. So it is definitely fits the bill of being South Asian. And we do have the snowy map already, which could possibly be a hint at that.
Uh, there is no new map though for that chapter. It's only going to be a killer and a survivor.
No, I mean the one that we got with the Houndmaster.
Yeah, but there's not going to be a map. It's just going to be killer and survivor.
Yes, I know. I'm saying that the map already exists for this chapter.
Oh, you're talking about the Orman
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Oh, that map was weird. I don't know what they were trying to do with that map.
I think they were maybe hinting at the Yeti because it's snowy.
Oh yes, the map that looks like it was straight out of the thing.
Oh, I'm thinking it. Um, yeah. I don't know. Like I know nothing about South Asian folklore.
Looking it up right now, I see what, a snake or a dragon. That would be cool.
No, I don't think it would be. You
Yeah,
are.
you're right. You're right.
You know nothing.
I'm just looking at pictures. I see a lot of dragons, a lot of snakes,
Yeah.
a lot of just women.
There's one, the Karasu, which is just a floating head with organs. That definitely fits gory, I think.
I don't know. The behavior knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's actually going to be a really good chapter
Quite
based
possibly the
off it.
worst chapter ever, I think, actually.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have a worse chapter. We have the Skull Merchant.
Was the
I think it's gonna
skull
be
chat?
really
Was the skull
difficult.
merchant really that bad?
I still don't even own her.
I don't either. But I
Working
mean,
her, and it seems like she's actually gonna be fun to play as. So who knows? Maybe that's gonna change.
yeah. Let's just hope. I mean, they cooked with the FNAF chapter. Hopefully, they cook with this next one. And then we gotta wait until November for a new killer and two survivors. Wait, I'm wrong.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
November's a licensed one.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, so I got it wrong. September is the. Okay. Yeah. September is that one. The licensed chapter for November comes with a new killer and two survivors. What do you
And
think that
on
could
top
be?
of that, 2v8's also coming out
Exactly.
again, right around there.
I think since the 2v8's coming around there, it might be Resident Evil Part 3.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Who could it be? I think it's what's his name from Resident Evil 7 as a killer. Uh Jack?
Jack.
Yeah. Jack Baker.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be Jack Baker, and then we get the two survivors. You could possibly get. I'm thinking Miku and Ethan.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Iconic Miku from
Resident
Resident Evil. Yeah. But you know what's crazy is I actually know who this killer is.
Oh yeah.
It's Hero Brian, and it comes with Alex and Steve as survivors.
You just won.
I won.
You just won.
I won. I actually did.
Yeah.
And you know what makes me say that? It's releasing in November. You know what also releases in November?
What else releases in November?
Minecraft 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, Minecraft 2 releases in November, and Hero Brian's going to be a part of Minecraft 2. So I think to capitalize on that, they're going to add him to DBD. You're laughing.
Well, I'm laughing because I looked it up and I see that Minecraft 2 has been canceled.
Why are you lying to?
No.
Why are you lying to me?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how true this is. That's the first thing I see when I look up Minecraft 2.
Well, I know that's wrong because my dad works for Microsoft Mojang, so
Yeah. Does your dad work for Notch? Yeah.
he does. He does. But yeah,
Is
the
your dad
new
Notch?
yeah, my dad actually is Notch actually. Fun
It's
fact.
crazy.
But yeah, I think the licensed chapter is gonna be Hero Brian, Alex, and Steve, with legendary skins for Zombie and Villager.
Fucking Smash Bros type shit over here.
It would be peak, would it not? Are you telling me you wouldn't be a hero, Brian main?
It's just absurd. Do you want a main Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, or Hero Brian?
The crafter. The crafter, bro.
I do think there's a lot you can do with this license chapter, but I really do think
Oh,
it's Resident Evil 7 themed. I
I
could be
think it
completely
has
wrong.
to
It
be.
could be I'm not, some people saying it could be a Stranger Things Part 2. I personally don't think it's going to be.
Well, you got to remember that follows along the line of Stranger Things Day, and I think Stranger Things the final season actually does drop November or near that time frame. So
Yeah, but I don't see behavior wanting to do a whole nother full on collab with a license that they had previously lost.
mm, that's
I'm not
fair.
I I'm not sure how true this is. I don't know where I read it or saw it from, but I think they said that they are still willing to work with Stranger
Yeah.
Things for cosmetics and stuff.
Hmm.
I'm still waiting for the blighted Demogorgon. I'm still surprised we haven't gotten a skin like that,
That's true.
or a Hopper legendary skin,
Which
or
I'm mad about.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Byers part
What's it? What's
part.
his name? Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie.
Yeah, we already fucking got Jonathan. Who fucking wanted Jonathan Byers?
I wanted
Um,
Jonathan Byers.
but yeah, that's why. I mean, obviously we have we got Jason, Pennywise, Terrifier maybe, but I don't think it's those because we have two survivors,
Hmm.
and that's what's really like getting me is that there's going to be a new killer, there's going to be two survivors, and there's no map. And on top of that, 2v8 is rolling around kind of in the same time.
That's what makes me heavily like. It makes me
That's
think
why I do think it is a third Resident
unless
Evil chapter.
unless it's Stranger Things and they had Demogorgon and whoever the Stranger Things killer for that for that chapter is.
I think that when it was add Vecna.
Yeah, it would only be Vecna. Two
That's
Vecnas.
why I think yeah, that's why I think they probably wouldn't do it because they already have Vecna.
But I
And
feel
on
like they'd
top,
call him something else. They'd definitely call him something else. But I could see why people would get confused like, "Oh, it's Vecna. Which Vecna?"
yeah. On top of that, I'm not sure how league legalities go on how they did Vecna and Stranger Things with partnering with actual Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not sure how they did that.
Uh, I have no idea either.
So it'd be like what two licenses, like
Do you
license
I
Inception.
feel like they could work it though cuz they already have a good relationship with D&D and they're on good relationships with Netflix as well. I don't think it'd be too difficult for them to get the license to do Vecna, you know.
Again.
Again, yeah, Vecna again. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I think they're probably not going to do it. It could happen. It very well could, but I have my doubts. I do think it is going to be Resident
or
Evil 7.
I've heard this one thrown around, The Conjuring. You have The Conjuring, probably the nun, and then you have the two main characters, I forget their names. Uh but you have them come in as survivors.
So you forget their names. That's probably why I don't think The Conjuring
Ow.
is that. But I know it's they have expansive movies, but I don't think it's as iconic.
Well, a lot of people
Like
would say otherwise because I think you're stupid, and I actually want the conjure. Oh my god, the
we
conjure.
can't even say it
I
right.
can't
You
even
know,
speak. I
we
can't
are
even
not
speak.
getting it. We are
I
not getting The
lie. I
Conjuring.
lie. Laureen and Ed Warren. Holy fuck, Warren. Them two old geezers as survivors, please. Unless it's a curveball and it's actually Darth Vader. It's actually Darth Vader and it's Han Solo and Lando as two new survivors. I
Oh yeah.
think I think that's actually what it is.
Totally. But yeah, I don't want to lock it in right now, but what I'm thinking, yeah, is it's gonna be the RE7 stuff, or maybe RE7 and RE8. Definitely Ethan as a survivor.
Definitely.
Not sure about the second one. Maybe his daughter. Um, maybe Chris himself.
I doubt it.
Um,
Why? I mean,
yeah, I know they're gonna have to add two Chris's then.
yeah. Unless they, I was gonna say, unless if you own the Chris skin, you'd get Chris, but I doubt they do something like that.
Yeah. Um,
And then they just you're like,
and
well, it's
as
actually old man Chris, so it's actually two different people.
a very big missed opportunity to. I mean, I get why they put Chris and Claire as skins, but I think it was a very missed opportunity because of the second chapter with Wesker.
Wesker, I
I think
think Chris definitely
uh,
should have been a survivor with
Chris and
Wesker.
Chris and Sheva should have been
Yeah,
the survivors, or maybe Chris and Ada.
yeah, definitely.
I'm actually not a big fan of Rebecca being a survivor in the game.
I'm on the same. I think she definitely should have just been a legendary skin for Jill,
Yeah,
and someone more important should have got that.
yeah, like I think Sheva should have definitely
I think Carlos
been the
actually should have
survivor.
got it.
No one gives a fuck about
I'll kill you.
Carlos.
Um, but yeah, I mean,
And for new killer for the it could go both ways, either Jack or Lady D, uh
if they do
Lady
Lady,
Dimitrescu,
yeah,
whatever her name
if
is.
they do
I
hot,
actually do want her more just because I think she would
she's
work
hot.
better
Yeah.
than Jack Baker. But I feel like they're gonna add Jack instead.
I definitely feel like if they add her, they definitely probably add Ethan and maybe his daughter as a survivor.
Yeah, because you do play as Rose in RE DLC.
Yeah. So I mean, hey,
Or they could really go out there. They could add RE9.
yeah, that's true. That is
Wait,
true.
like what, a year before it's gonna come out?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
you
want to
never know.
lock it in right now, but I think right now I'm definitely thinking it's gonna be a third Resident Evil chapter.
I'm definitely on the fence about it being Resident Evil or Stranger Things. Definitely.
Yeah, I really couldn't guess. I mean, um, I could say maybe Predator.
Predator would
You
be
could
cool.
have Arnold and what's his name, Carl. I think
Yeah.
I forget their names as survivors, but I know I did see an interview.
They
They
don't
said
want
that
to
they
add
don't really
people
want to
like
add
that.
action
Yeah.
heroes.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna get
Which
John
sucks.
McClane from
I
Die
would
Hard
love Rambo. I would love
or
Rambo as a
Rambo. Yeah,
survivor. But I feel like you take away Rambo's, everything. He probably could work, but he's also an action hero. I feel like
yeah.
Rambo could work though. I would love a Rambo survivor chapter, like a mini chapter, a paragraph.
Or legendary skin for Jake.
Yeah.
They're
Jake.
both outside. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
They're both two characters that go outside.
Ara put him on what's his name? Uh fuck, I forgot his name. Doesn't even matter.
Put him on Fang.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they just make like a Rambo uh cosmetic collection and you're just able to give all the original survivors his bandana, make him shirtless with a
Face paint and stuff.
huh?
The face paint and
Yeah,
stuff.
and then the belt around them too. I think that would be cool. I would love John Rambo for Mortal Kombat 11 as a survivor.
New killer Spawn.
Yeah. Spawn would be
Gonna
cool
call him
too.
the Hell Spawn.
Spawn would be cool, and then you could give the clown a legendary skin
Or
for
the
not
Violator.
yeah, Violator.
And what's really stumping me when I look at this roadmap is the March chapter. It's going to be a new survivor along with a new realm. Now, it's interesting because it's not saying it's a new map, it's a new realm.
Yeah, so it's an
So that's
entirely
what's,
new.
yeah, that's what's confusing me because it's like, are we getting a new realm? Does that mean we're also getting a new map with it as well? Or is the new realm just going to add already?
existing
existing
map is
map
to the realm.
to just a different realm. Like what we're gonna have,
What
what
they're gonna
the
do here, I'm gonna tell you.
Macmillan just in daytime or something. I
Here's
don't
what
know.
I'm gonna tell you. They're gonna do. That's that's FNAF Part Two.
Oh hell yeah!
That's Michael Afton as a survivor, and it's coming with the new FNAF at Freddy's realm that adds sister location.
Freddy Fazbear's the killer.
Yeah, speaking of that, do you think, I don't know if you've seen, Foxy is missing from the map, and they only have like the little thing and then the plushie. Do you think Foxy will get a Blight skin like everyone else is thinking, or do you think he'd be on someone else?
I think it probably is gonna be Blight skin. Um, I know they said that if they're going to add a skin, it'd have to match the power.
Yep, they
That's
have
why
to stay
the
true.
Freddy Fazbear himself isn't a skin.
Yeah, they have to they have
Um,
to do something that the actual animatronic would do in game.
and Blight already has Birkin.
Yeah,
I do, I do actually believe that it's gonna be a Blight skin.
I think,
I can't imagine it being a Springtrap skin. I don't think it's gonna be.
yeah, for Foxy
And
definitely,
the
definitely
fact
not.
that the map doesn't have Foxy in it, that just kind of like, I think that's a little hint
That he definitely
that
is going to be
he's gonna be
playable.
coming as a killer,
Yeah,
or yeah, be playable.
in some way. I know some people have said maybe he's going to be a part of a part two chapter, which I personally don't see happening.
Yeah, no, I don't
Um,
think this is gonna get a part two.
Unless they talk to him already and it's already in the works and we get it next year. Uh,
Who if you did a part, who would you make killer though? Because I feel like Springtrap's
People
really
would
only
think that's what
big
people are
bad.
thinking, it would be Foxy because he's not there.
Ah, that just doesn't make sense now.
Because I think Foxy would play too much like Blight because he just rushes. Foxy doesn't really do anything besides running. So there's not much you can do besides giving him a Blight skin. And I would hope that if he is a Blight skin, they add new animations because I cannot see Foxy running around with a fucking crowbar in his hook hand. Like he has to use his hook, and then they'd probably make like a unique animation where I don't know he like twirls it or something.
Different voice lines too as a pirate.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the collection's gonna be peak. I feel like they're definitely hiding like that. That has to be.
Yeah.
They're definitely hiding like. I'm gonna call it maybe two legendary skins for two other killers. Uh, I don't know who the second one would be, but I feel like they probably have something, or they probably just give Trapper a Freddy mask.
Yeah, they could. I mean, Trapper does have Naughty Bear.
Yeah,
That's a teddy bear. Freddy Fazbear's a bear.
it makes too much
Just makes
sense.
sense. Yeah. I'm one step ahead of them.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that is gonna do it for the first ever episode of whatever the hell I'm deciding on calling this little thing. Um, I want to thank my friend, the Redfield, for joining me again. Yeah, he's super famous. You gotta go subscribe to him.
Yeah, yeah, that's the word I'd use. Famous for
He's
sure.
super famous. He's already at 300 subscribers. It's
I
crazy.
am not. I am not at 300 subscribers.
It's crazy.
Although I would like to be.
Yeah, get him to 300. Um, yeah, that's gonna do it for the first episode. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this goes well. Y'all like it because I plan on doing more. I'm not stopping. Uh, thank you again, the Redfield, for joining me. And that's gonna do it. I'll see you perverts in the next video. Adios.